So today I'm going to be talking about the Chinese zodiac and its significance throughout Chinese history. In the first half, I'm going to mainly be talking about the origins of the Chinese zodiac and starting off my discussion of the animals by talking about what are known as the first two trines. So the Chinese zodiac animals are separated into these three groups that are called trines conveniently. I'm not going to go into each animal individually today because that might get really tiresome. There are 12 of them, and there's a lot to go into. If you are interested in a specific animal, I imagine a lot of people are interested in the animal that they were born in. I have included as part of the pack, I wrote a series of much more in-depth articles about each different animal, their compatibility, what's lucky for them, a little bit about them, their characteristics, that kind of thing. So if you want to look at that, that will be in the pack at the end. And it's just a bit fun to dive into, really. If you put stock in those sorts of things, it's great, and if you don't, it's still fun. Then in the second half, I'm going to finish up by talking about the last of the three trines, and then I'll discuss in more depth the impact that the Chinese zodiac continues to have on Chinese people and other East Asian communities to this day. So before we get into too much depth about the Chinese zodiac, let's first go back to the basics and answer the simplest of questions. What is the Chinese zodiac? It's very cute, as you can see here. In very general terms, the Chinese zodiac is a 12-year cycle based on the Chinese lunar calendar, which assigns a different animal and that animal's characteristics to a particular year. For anyone who's studying Chinese, in Chinese it's known as Sheng Xiao. Although we don't know the precise circumstances surrounding its origins, we do know that it appeared in China sometime during the 5th century BC and became official during the Han Dynasty, so from 202 BC to 220 AD, which is over 2,000 years ago. It has been used by countries such as Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand, and many other East and Southeast Asian countries throughout its history. In order of how they appear in the cycle, the 12 animals that make up the zodiac are the rat, the ox, the tiger, the rabbit, the dragon, the snake, the horse, the goat/sheep. It's kind of undefined. Unfortunately, the character means either goat or sheep, and it's never been sort of uncovered which one it's meant to be. After that, the monkey, the rooster, the dog, and the pig. But how was this order decided? Well, I have spoken about this many, many times before, but I would be remiss if I didn't rehash the epic Chinese folk story known as the Great Race. So according to this legend, the Jade Emperor, who is the highest ranking deity according to the traditional Chinese pantheon of gods, decided, think of him kind of like Zeus, I guess, decided to create a new way of measuring time by splitting it up into 12-year cycles. As he pondered over his creation, he couldn't help but feel that a certain earthly element was missing. He surmised that to fix this problem, he would dedicate each year to a specific animal. On his birthday, he announced to all the animals across China that there was going to be a swimming race. The first 12 animals to cross the fast-flowing river would become the fabled animals of the zodiac, so a great honor. The morning of the race arrived, and all of the animals waited tentatively on the banks of the river. Realizing that he was not a strong swimmer, the cunning rat took advantage of the kind ox and convinced the ox to carry him on his back. The ox was very accustomed to water. Bear in mind, oxes in China tend to be sort of more adjacent to water buffalo. And while the other animals were struggling against the strong current, he made it across the river easily. However, right before he reached the other bank, the rat leapt from his nose and therefore into first place. So he used his sort of cunning nature to his advantage. Well done, said the Jade Emperor to the proud rat. Thanks to your craftiness, the first year of the zodiac shall be dedicated to you. The poor ox, who had been so cruelly tricked, had to settle for second place, and thus the second year of the zodiac, which was last year. So we're now coming into our year. Shortly after, the tiger clawed his way onto the bank. Strong though he was, swimming against the powerful currents had been an enormous struggle, and he was exhausted. His efforts were greatly rewarded as he became the third animal in the zodiac, and the animal whose year we're currently living in is the year of the tiger. The rabbit, who was not a capable swimmer, used his muscular legs to jump on stepping stones and floating logs. In this way, he crossed the river and came fourth. However, when the dragon finally arrived in fifth place, the Jade Emperor was deeply confused. The emperor asked why the dragon hadn't just flown over the river and won easily. But the dragon responded that just as the race was starting, he had seen a village that was on fire. So he flew to it instead and doused the fire out with rain because he's intensely sort of kind, cares about other people. As the sound of horses' hooves echoed in the air, the Jade Emperor was certain that the horse would be the next animal. However, just as he was about to cross the finish line, the sneaky snake wriggled out from underneath his hoof, where he had been hiding, and scared the horse so badly that he leapt back. Thus, the snake came in 6th place and the horse in 7th. According to traditional Chinese culture, this is also cited as the reason why horses will always stamp snakes to death when they see them. The next 3 to arrive all together were the sheep, the monkey, and the rooster. They had actually worked together, with the sheep swimming steadily, the monkey sitting on the sheep's back, clearing away the reeds so that the sheep didn't have to push through them, and then the rooster on the back of the sheep, keeping time with his mighty voice. They became the 8th, 9th, and 10th animals of the zodiac, respectively. So they actually decided amongst themselves that the sheep should go first because he did the most work, the monkey did the second most work, so he should go then, and then the rooster did the least amount of work, so he should go last. When the dog arrived in 11th place, the Jade Emperor once again found himself in a state of confusion. Although the dog was one of the strongest swimmers in the animal kingdom, it found the water so comfortable and clean that it had spent most of the race just kind of frolicking around, which is why it was so late. After a long time waiting, the Jade Emperor became quite frustrated. He wondered when the 12th and final animal of the zodiac would finally arrive. Suddenly he heard a grunt and saw the pig emerging from the river. "You took your time," said the emperor. "I was so hungry, so I stopped to eat," the pig responded. "Then I became sleepy, so I took a nap." Thus, the last year of the zodiac was dedicated to the pig. But what about the cat, I'm sure you're saying? The cat and the rat had supposedly made a pact to go to the race together. The cat decided to take a quick nap to boost his energy and asked the rat to wake him up before the race. When the time came, the sly rat realized that the cat represented more competition, and so left him to sleep. Thus, the cat never made it to the race, never became part of the Chinese zodiac, and to this day, cats still hate rats because of it. Now, what's particularly important about this story is that it tells us several of the key characteristics of each animal. The rat is cunning and willing to sell people out for its own personal gain. The rabbit is not particularly powerful, but it's very resourceful. The dragon is kind and will go out of its way to help others. The pig is lazy and a pig. Within Buddhism, there is actually an alternate legend that states that Gautama Buddha summoned all of the animals on earth to come and bid him farewell before he ascended to the heavens, but only 12 animals weirdly bothered to show up. To reward those animals that made the effort, he named a year after each of them in the order in which they had arrived. So sort of a similar story, but without the race. Each animal in the zodiac, however, is also associated with a particular time of day, and this is similarly linked to the animal's characteristics. So the rat hour is from 11 p.m. to midnight. You might want to take a note of this if you want to know which animals come out which times. So the rat hour is from 11 p.m. to midnight because that's when rats are most active in seeking out food. The ox hour is from 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. because this is around about the time the ox start to chew the cud. 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. are the tiger hours because that's apparently when tigers start to hunt their prey and show their ferocious nature. The rabbit hour is from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. because this is when the jade rabbit, who lives on the moon, this is a very strange story that I won't go into, maybe for a future seminar, he starts pounding his herbal medicine. So sort of like how we have the man in the moon, Chinese people believe there's a rabbit on the moon, and there is a rabbit shape in the moon. From 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. is the dragon hour, since that's when dragons fly into the sky and let the rains fall. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. are the snake hours, since this is the time when snakes leave their caves. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., you're on horse time, as horses stay standing during this period of time when other animals will lay down to rest. Seems a bit tenuous, but that's it. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. belongs to the goat or sheep, since that's the time when they eat a lot of grass and tend to urinate more often, apparently. The monkey opening hours are from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., as that's apparently the time when monkeys are at their most active. The roost hour, bizarrely, is from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., because that's when they begin to return to their coops. Dogs take over around about 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., as this is when dogs start their noble guard duty outside of people's homes. And then finally, the time to pig out is from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., because, as you may have guessed, pigs are sleeping. So that's when they start to sleep. In fact, unlike the Western zodiac, the Chinese zodiac actually permeates every aspect of the time system. from years and months right down to weeks and hours. I'm not going to go into too much depth here about precisely what the 4 pillars of destiny are, as it's a really obtuse concept that is kind of beyond my grasp, but I will talk about its relevance to the Chinese zodiac. It is sometimes referred to as 八字, or the 8 characters, because each of the 4 pillars has 2 main attributes assigned to it. But if you want to know the full name, it's 4柱命理学, the 4 pillars of destiny. So first of all, let's start at the very beginning. What are the 4 pillars of destiny? Well, the 4 pillars themselves are the hour, day, month, and year of your birth. Each of these is assigned one of the 10 celestial stems and one of the 12 earthly branches, which is where the number 8 comes from. The heavenly stems and the 8 and the earthly branches are both units of timekeeping that date all the way back to the Shang dynasty, and they both run according to their own cycles. But these cycles themselves combine to form 60 different possible combinations, which is referred to as the sexagenary cycle. I will eventually try to do a seminar on this concept once I finally get my head around the system. I have sort of, since writing this presentation before, I've started to understand it a bit better, but not terribly well. But in the most general sense, the heavenly stems are derived from the fact that the people of the Shang dynasty once believed that there were 10 suns that each came up in succession. So there's not just one sun that we see, there's actually 10 suns that go round and round. So the heavenly stems refer to the cycle of these 10 suns. I'm getting my S's mixed up. The 12 earthly branches were actually based on observations made by Chinese astrologers of the orbit of the planet Jupiter. So it's incredibly complicated. What's important for us today, however, is that each of the 4 pillars is also assigned its own zodiac animal. The year you were born in is your year animal, and that denotes the animal that people perceive you as being, or how you present yourself to others on the most sort of exterior level. Your month animal is called your inner animal, which is how your extended family and friends will see you. Only your closest friends and family will get to know your true animal, which is based on the day of your birth. And then finally, your secret animal, which is based on the hour of your birth, is your truest self. But only you and perhaps only 1 or 2 other people will ever get to see those characteristics in you. In other words, the closer to the time of birth, the more characteristics of that animal you will truly and authentically have, but other people may not know it. In case you're wondering what your inner and true animal might be, I'll give you a quick kind of rundown of the months and days associated with each animal. Although bear in mind that this is based on the Chinese lunar calendar, so it may not precisely match up to your day of birth. So if you want to make a note now, if you think about your birthday, if you're born from February 4th to March 5th, you're a tiger. March 6th to April 4th is a rabbit. April 5th to May 5th is a dragon. May 6th to June 5th is a snake. June 6th to July 6th is a horse. July 7th to August 6th is a sheep or a goat. August 7th to September 7th is a monkey. September 8th to October 7th is a rooster. October 8th to November 6th is a dog. November 7th to December 6th is a pig. December 7th to January 5th is a rat. And finally, January 6th to February 3rd is an ox. If you were born on a Sunday, you're probably a cheeky monkey. If you're a Monday child, then you could be a goat or a sheep. If Tuesday's the day, then you're either a dragon or a pig. If you're a Wednesday's child, it's a tiger or a horse. Thursday's the day for either a rat or a snake. Friday, I'm in love with a rabbit or a dog. And finally, Saturday, you could be an ox or a rooster. Now, while each animal has its own unique characteristics, they can be separated into what are known as the 4 trines, which are grouped by their shared characteristics. Sorry, I said 3 trines earlier because the word trine sounds like it should be 3, but it is in fact 4 trines. So we'll do the first 2 before the break and the second 2 after the break. So the first trine is made up of the rat, the dragon, and the monkey. Now, these 3 signs are grouped together because they are 3 of the most intensely powerful signs in the zodiac and are believed to be capable of great good. But their chaotic nature means they can be very unpredictable. They are said to be intelligent, kind, charismatic, authoritative, confident, eloquent, and creative. But on the flip side, they can be manipulative, jealous, selfish, aggressive, spiteful, and deceitful. Now, after that, the second trine consists of the ox, the snake, and the rooster, an unlikely trio indeed. They're grouped together because they share the core characteristics of perseverance and a willingness to apply themselves to tasks, usually at a slow and steady pace, with a meticulous attention to detail and planning. The downside of this, however, is that they tend to be quite stubborn and fixed in their ways. Like most signs, they are known for their intelligence, but also for their hardworking nature, their modesty, industriousness, loyalty, patience, kind-heartedness, and their sense of justice. There is, of course, always a downside to this, and in this case, it can lead to them becoming self-righteous, egotistical, vain, judgmental, narrow-minded, and quite petty. Now, after the break, I'll be talking about the third and fourth trines before getting into how the zodiac affects life in China today. But for now, we will have our little break. And I know this is a little bit dated, but 2020 is the year of the rat, and this is the rat from 2020.